Good evening and welcome to all of you for this most awaited live event, The Big Talk. We have a couple of guests whom I would certainly like to introduce at a later stage. But before we do so, it is not out of place for me to mention that I am Methil Krish, talking to you from Amrita Vishwavidyapitham, Ettimade, the headquarters, Coimbatore, and I'll be the moderator taking you along for the next 50 to 55 minutes of our deliberation. Anything that we start would start with the blessings of our Chancellor, Amma, the spiritual leader, Mata Amrita Devi, and we would certainly seek Amma's blessings again before we start this deliberation, and this is to be done by our Brahmachari, Maheshwar Chaitanya ji, would light the lamp of knowledge and shower the blessings to all of us. Over to you, Swamiji. Let's have the privilege and honor to be blessed by you in this happy occasion of Thank you very much, Swamiji, for the blessings that you had showered on all of us, the attendees and the guests who are here with us. And let's start the deliberations. And before we do so, it'll be my great pleasure to welcome both the guests. The one guest has to join us a little later. But we have here with us the chief speaker, Mr. MSA Kumar, who is an alumni of Most Wanted Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. He has over 40 years of corporate experience in diverse companies like Sandoz, Bayer, Chevrolet, and A.V. Thomas. His last assignment was managing director at AVT Natural Products and AVT Mechanics Ingredients Limited. Post his retirement in the year 2015, Mr. Kumar founded his consulting firm Catalyst 360, specializing in family business advisory and Chief Executive Officer coaching services. He was a past chairman of Confederation of Indian Industry, the Kerala chapter. He was also the past president of TIE Kerala, devoted to fostering entrepreneurship, and past chairman of All India Spice Exporters Forum, Cochin. Kumar is the recipient of the Kerala Management Association Management Leadership Award 2015 and has been acknowledged as an industry leader in agriculture through Lifetime Achievement Award and Honorary Fellowship in 2014 by the Horticulture Society of India. Mr. Kumar, it's our pleasure to have your presence for the talk on how the character will lead you to employment for those students who are waiting to get placed and for those of them who are already employed in retaining their jobs and people who are without jobs to build up character which will help them to enhance the potential of employability in themselves. Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar, for accepting our invitation, and I'm sure your talk, your deliberation, your address will benefit millions of people across the country and world. So once again, on behalf of Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham and the blessings of Amma, we welcome you for this special address on character building towards employability. Over to you, Mr. Kumar, and we are all eager to listen to you and understand and learn from you, which is, as somebody said, or somebody keeps saying, that if wealth is lost, nothing is lost. If health is lost, something is lost. And if character is lost, everything is lost. Thank you so much once again, Kumar. Over to you, Mr. Kumar.
Thank you, Professor Krish, as well as Swamiji, for giving me this opportunity to address on a subject which is very critical. I am not relating anything to the COVID-19 and the difficult times what we are going through now, but would like to say that last time we had a nice webinar organized by Amrita, wherein the speaker from Deloitte mentioned about employability. That's the time when I thought it's time to talk about employability and why employability of Indian. I'm not talking about engineering graduates or MBAs alone. From people passing out of universities, why the employability is very low. There are various figures, floating around, and I think there was a question from Professor Krish to the earlier speaker from Deloitte, the partner of Deloitte. What's the percentage? He told 75 to 80% of the students coming out of universities are not employable, which is a very, very serious matter. And this was the ratio maybe 5 or a decade back, and it continues to be the same. So that gave a thought. I suggested to Professor Krish that why don't we have a small, very brief webinar, but it's such a vast subject in terms of looking at employability and character building. So I would briefly take you through. So first of all, thanks once again to Amrita Vidyapeetham for giving me this opportunity. And I'm not going to give you any GAN, but I would like to share my experiences as far as possible in terms of improving employability through character building. So I have a presentation. I'll just share it now. Has it come out on the screen?
Yes, it is on the screen.
Okay, brilliant. So basically, we are talking about the strength of character. As Professor Krish mentioned, if character is lost, everything is lost. And before we started this webinar, Swamiji also was asking, isn't it like a foundation on which everything lies? It's like a foundation for a building. How strong it is depends on how many floors you can build on top. So having said this, if you really look at it, we always say in management, if there is a particular problem, we should be able to identify the root causes of that issue or that problem we are facing through a process of asking 5 times why. The moment you ask in 5 layers the why question, you come to root causes. So I'm just looking at whether Matthew has joined, but I'm sure he will join during the course of our deliberations. First and foremost, I think what we should understand, the business landscape is completely changing or already changed, and the expectations of the industry is also changing very rapidly. Let me give you an example. After my MBA, I joined the employment stream way back in 1976. So looking at it, it's what, 44 years. Those days, there was a management trainee scheme where management trainees are promised to be productive by end of year 1, but most of us become productive only at the end of year 2. But these days, I'm not talking about anything about COVID, don't get me wrong. These days, the expectation of the industry is that the people should be productive as soon as possible. I mean, the maximum we can look at is, even if I'm an advisor to many groups now, company groups, They say we want our graduates to be productive within 3 to 6 months. So the question is that if you say low employability, it's a question of what are we doing about it? Why it is that? Because we also should understand the famous saying of the most known coach, CEO coach in the world, Marshall Goldsmith, what got you here won't get you there. Now, with COVID-19 coming in, I think the expectations will change more rapidly. Let's look at the second factor. There is also an element of, but these things are changing now. I see a change. When I passed out, my parents told me that I should be either engineer or doctor. These days, that is significantly changing. The matter of fact is that the avenue streams, for example, a shoe designer or an apparel designer is also a job, for example. It need not be an engineer, a doctor kind of thing. But what happens is that with that pressure, we put, students, the parents put the students in areas where they are not interested. Maybe a doctor, maybe an engineer. So that is also one of the reasons why they don't show interest. The third aspect is it's not only the institutes like Amrita for that or any other institute or the students. In India especially, we have been talking it from Confederation of Indian Industry as well. The industry academia interface is very, very low. I think the more you have adjunct faculties or guest faculties from the industry and they share their expectations, the job readiness goes up. There are too many colleges without the required focus on syllabus and pedagogy. I'm not saying about Amrita. Amrita is a very well-known, reputed institution with good faculty, but there are a lot of institutions which are sprung up, which are now I understand is getting converted into a hospital or what else, in a way because the student quality coming out is not that great. So there has been no focus on the syllabus and the pedagogy. Then, of course, the most important part is the soft skills, the cues. We all know the cues. Let me just put the cues here. Just look at it. I mean, many of the cues are known to all of us. The IQ, EQ, SQ. But there are EQ also. Let me say IQs, of course, everybody knows the intelligence quotient, the emotional quotient, the societal quotient. DQ is the domain quotient. Like, for example, if you're an engineering graduate or a mechanical engineer, your domain knowledge should be very, very important. There are two other things put here, which is not very often talked Q in terms of employability. AQ is the adverse quotient. How many of us are today accepting the reality of COVID? How many of us have changed our lifestyles, changed our way we look at life? Many of us have, because you face adversity through what? Resilience. So it's very important that adversity quotient, because nothing goes in your life as per your plan. So as students who get out of universities think that, look, I am from IAMA, as Professor Krish introduced. We graduates are, okay, we have this big hat or big collar kind of a feeling that the moment we get out of the institute, we should sit in the CEO's table. It never happens. We all go through adversities in our lives. We learn from our experience and then become better leaders, better managers with better character. So that is the AQ part. And the AQ part has become very important in this COVID-19 days. RQ, relationship quotient. Finally, at the end of the day, everything comes in terms of how good you are in managing people, how good you are in establishing relationship, how good you are in continuing with the relationship. So these are the, we say the 6 Qs. And I'm not spending much time. Our other panelist, Matthew, who is your alumni, he is from the formative, he's a MBA from Amrita School of Business, that's what I heard. And he's a well-known person in Kerala. I hope he's able to join now. He's the formative director of Akshaya, which is a Kerala government initiative, which was an innovative program for creating a network of entrepreneurs for delivering citizen services. Like you want a ration card, you didn't get your EPF loan, or you didn't get your electricity thing. So Akshaya is a portal floated by the government of Kerala, and I understand Matthew Korath, who is one of your alumni, has been almost like a founder director, formative director, and he is now holding positions I'm sure Professor Krish will introduce him in more detail. So we'll talk about this little more in detail after Matthew Korath comes online. Let's look at the strength of character. See, what is it character is all about? It gives you a philosophy. It gives you a way to conduct yourself. It gives you a way to make forward journeys. It gives you a strength in terms of having a family, having a relationship. So as Swamiji was telling me before the,
I hope I am audible.
Hello?
I hope I am audible. I have joined.
Yeah. Welcome.
Oh, Matthew, oh, fantastic.
Fantastic.
Okay, I mean, welcome, Matthew. We just started, so you are not lost much. I think we'll bring you back as the alumni and talk about the employability part a little more in detail. I just started the strength of character. I just went through the root causes, which you know, of low employability. You are a very experienced professional, Matthew. So we'll get back to you. I'll take another 10, 12 minutes to finish this. So the strength of character is like a foundation to a building. We all want to be successful in our lives. I mean, that is what is driving employability as well. But your definition of success and my definition of success may be entirely different. See, what we say is the meaning and purpose of a person in his life dictates his definition of success. Let's say having a Mercedes-Benz S-Class or having a big mansion may be your definition of success. Is slides moving? Is slides being seen?
No. Slides. You need to know. It's not changing. You need to push it up. So you are still on the first slide.
Oh, that is so. You didn't see any of these cues, and you.
No, we can see it. We can see IQ. We can see it on the left side, but you can press the slideshow, Mr. Kumar.
Okay.
You will see slideshow, right?
Yeah, I think my technical assistant is correcting this.
All right. So welcome, Mr. Matthews.
Yeah, I think you can give
now
an
yes.
introduction.
Now yes.
Before I. So this one.
Yes.
Is it see all the cues are seen?
Yeah, we are able to see all the cues: IQ, RQ, EQ, AQ. Yes.
Okay. There are so many cues in life.
Yeah, still in queue.
Okay, let's. I think I went too far away. Sorry. I think.
Yeah, you can go backwards. Yeah. Here.
So we were defining. I was defining success. Success varies from the individual to individual. Each individual defines a meaning and purpose in life. Okay. So at the end of the day, how you define your success, and if you're defined, okay, I need a Mercedes-Benz S-Class and a big mansion in my life, and then you are spending absolutely left, right, and center, and you have a lot of credit card liability or a EMI liability, then it becomes that your character starts forming around that. So success has to be defined properly. And one thing we say always is, as far as you students are concerned, the parents are concerned, the institution is concerned, let's all be clear that success is a journey, not a destination. I always say to my clients, as well as when I take forums like this, let's be clear that success may be 2 pages in a book of 500 pages of failures. So that is what you should get prepared. That's how you define the character behind the success. And similarly, the definition what we say is that the ability to go from one failure to another failure with 2 conditions, with no loss of enthusiasm and no loss of energy. So it depends on how you define your success. I will quickly take the philosophy of the ant here in terms of driving this philosophy. See, everyone forms a philosophy in their life. As per Aristotle, at the age of 52, you form a philosophy, because as I told you, success is a journey. It keeps on building up. But even if somebody in this group, parents, maybe 60, or maybe older than that, like me, don't lose heart. Few years here and there doesn't make a difference. But you form a philosophy in your life. I will take a comparison of the philosophy of the ant. Here is what we say as that very uniqueness about the ant. We all look at this tiny creature and knows her destination too well, where she wants to reach. And also Anne knows how to get there, and Anne also knows how to work around this. See, a typical example is like she finds a stone, a roadblock. First she tries to go around that on the left side, isn't successful. Then tries to go around the right side, not successful. Then she tries to lift the stone, which is 100 times his weight or her weight, is not successful. It calls other ants to move it, still not successful. Then she tries to build a tunnel under the stone, try to go through. The point I'm making is that they keep on trying. That is the hallmark of a character. That's the hallmark of a philosophy, that you never quit. And the saying goes that Ant's philosophy is you will win if you don't quit. And again, winners never quit and quitters never win. So it's very important that you develop your own philosophy. At least by the time you reach the age of 52, no hard and fast rule like that. You can create your own philosophy or arrive at your own philosophy even earlier. There is also this famous story of, especially for youngsters who earlier days we used to talk about this when from good engineering colleges like Amrita and all, that you pass out, you get good salaries, and then you start spending, you start buying things. This is the famous, you would have heard the grasshopper and the ant story, where during the summertime, I mean, it's a Western story. During summertime, ants keep on storing the grains for the winter, whereas grasshopper keeps on playing around the grass. And finally, when the winter comes, grasshopper laughed at the ant. And when the winter comes, grasshopper has nothing to eat. Ants are happy. The moral of the story is that how many of us among us are grasshoppers? It's very important that you create assets, and during these times, and I will tell you, people who are surviving this COVID-19 are people who have not acted like the grasshoppers, who have created certain asset base so that they can survive the most difficult times when there is a loss of job or reduction in salary. Many of my clients have cut down salaries. Some of my clients have really asked people to go because of the situation, because it's like they don't have the revenue stream. So what do? You can't find growth is against their value system. Let's move on. So character is the means to transform ideas into achievement. How do you do that? I was talking to Swamiji before I started. Education do play a role, but the basic character has two elements. One is the nature, another is the nurture. So when you say nature is what is born with, but does that stay always? No. You have a nurture situation where the parents play an important role. Then comes the education. The formative years of a child, the character is getting molded very well. And then you get a good education system, join a good institution like Amrita. You are taught the right values, you practice your faculty and your leaders doing that. That is the hallmark of success. So it is a character plus education which leads to success. Character allows you to get where you want to go. Like we discussed, it is a foundation. Let me take a metaphor of driving a car, or you want to go somewhere. So you decide, okay, I have to get a car. That's first. Then of course I have to have the key of the car. Then I have to look at whether the fuel tank is storing enough fuel to take me from destination A to destination B. And of course you should know driving. Then of course depending on the traffic, when to apply brake. And then of course, when the situation calls for a stop, you have to stop. Character is like this. So I will explain a little more in the next 5 minutes, and then ask Matthew to join me in terms of talking about employability. Here the situation is that once you decide you want to go from destination A to destination B, you have to prepare your car, your vehicle, which takes you into transform your ideas into success. So it is exactly the story of a car. Your character has to be the vehicle for transforming those ideas. Let's quickly look into some more details here. If you have to go like I recently I live in Cochin, I had to come to Bangalore for a particular program. Basically, my daughter's housewarming ceremony. I took my car. Okay, I have to first send to the service people and check whether my car is in good condition. What do? I mean, I asked them to check whether tire treads are okay. Went around the car, whether the lights are on, because I was coming through Wayanad area. All that stuff. So you need to measure the condition of your car. Similarly, you have to measure the condition of your character. Achievement success depends on your character. And how do you know your character is good enough to take you to the destination? I have 4 interesting charts here. One is take stock. Be ruthlessly honest in judging the strength of your character. I'll tell you, I am a CEO coach, certified coach now. Many of us think that we are the best people, best managers, and we have this 360-degree feedback we do for the CEO coaching, or any coaching for that matter. You think that you are the best human resource manager, you are a very good team player. You ask 10 of the subordinates for a 360, you get opposite views. That manager is absolutely not a people or people-oriented manager, and so basically you should be ruthlessly honest in judging the strength of your character. Best thing is that many of us won't be able to judge our own strength, because how many of us hold the mirror in front of us and say, okay, I am not a good people manager, I am more task-oriented than people-oriented. So I will quickly take you through the next 4 slides in terms of the characters to be assessed in 4 gauges. You know the car. I mean, I take the analogy or metaphor of a car to reach from destination A to destination B, which is the character. Look at this. You have got the fuel gauge. It shows on the right side full, on the left side empty. Same thing is here in terms of the first imaginary character evaluation gauge. The right side is refusal, the left side is complacency. Refusal is where you refuse to be cowed down. Refusal is you, like the ant example I told, you refuse to be cowed down by the roadblocks. You refuse not to put the best effort in accomplishing what you want to achieve. Your refusal is to give, you should not refuse to give back something to society. So these are all the tank full part. The complacency part, if you have to use a Hindi word, ayaram gaya chalega boss. Let it slide. The acronym for that is LIS. What is the difference anyway? You see such characters amongst ourselves. People who are very complacent. People don't bother about anything. They don't refuse to do the wrong things. The value system, for example, I'm sure in Amrita, the students and the parents, actually in families, teach certain values. For example, you will not take bribe. You should be able to refuse a bribe. So this is the first imaginary character evaluation gauge. You should be able to refuse the attractions or what life gives many times, and you should not be complacent. So the meter, you can check whether you are half full or half towards complacency on this side, or you are on the refusal side. This is one of the fundamental things. The gauge 2, I think many of us managers know about this. Many of us know about it. The D is on the right side and the M is on the left side. This is another word for decision. People don't decide fast. We go by maybe. That's M. Like you come to a crossroad and you start thinking whether I should take the left or the right. Then you say maybe left, maybe right. But you don't really decide. Procrastination, delayed decision making is one of the character gauges. You should be decisive. Maybe you are deciding now to join a particular engineering college, or you're trying to take a new job, you're planning to get married, or you're going to construct a house. These are all decisions one takes in life. Maybe we'll be there for some time. Okay, you are evaluating various options, the pros and cons, but once a decision is taken, your character will decide that decision is taken like the ant, but destination is known to go on that path. The third gauge, the last but one gauge, is the want and the appetite. Again, want means you have decided this is what I need. If I want to be the best architect or a best landscape consultant in the town, I will do all the reading required to be the best in town, the go-to person. That's a want. Once you recognize that want, I will be the best in what I do. Is the W of this game. Apathy, kuch bhi chalega. Okay, I mean, I will find my life. Sometimes my parents have earned some money, I will live out of it. That's apathy. I mean, they don't want to make a mark for themselves. They don't have much of meaning and purpose in life. So this W and A is the third gauge. And the final one, of course, the P and F. You promise yourself to be the best in town. You will have fear. And many of us have two fears. Fears of uncertainty, which is there now, nobody can stop it. Even I am overwhelmed. I also don't know what is going to happen to the world. But you promise yourself, COVID, I will convert that into an opportunity and start a new life. The fear is on the other side, the fear of losing, the fear of uncertainties, you get overwhelmed, but promise is what going to make you. So basically, these four gauges, you are able to evaluate ruthlessly, fearlessly, and prove to yourself and say that are you practicing this? That will be the time when we get really going, and the character formation, the foundation of what you do in life is very important. So if you look at that 6 cues, what I put, the character is dictating RQ, relationship quotient. The character is dictating the emotional quotient, EQ. Character is dictating the social quotient. Character also is dictating the adversity quotient. These are all formed by you. What does Amrita as an institute give you? Intelligence quotient, domain quotient. Plus, of course, all this. I'm not saying that the institution plays a big role, but I would tell you, friends, students, these 4 Qs is based on you and your parents to a great extent, plus the institute. Character plus education is what we talk. So, what I would now do is, Matthew Korath, as I mentioned, I think, Professor Krish, you can give a quick introduction about Matthew Korath before I get into a fireside chat with him for the next 15 minutes before we hand over to Swamiji. So please introduce Matthew Korath, and then I will just cut off my screen thing now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar. As you rightly said, success is going from one failure to the other failure with the same enthusiasm and energy. And thank you so much for explaining us the ways of getting more characterized, better characterized for employment opportunities. So here we have with us, so proud to have you, Korath Matthew. He is an alumni of...
No introduction required, I think.
Yeah, introduction is required, not for us, but at least for those viewers who are here eagerly waiting for your presence and your talk. He is the alumni of Amrita School of Business, and more so about him, because I always believe that to be on a top character and discipline and all those, you need to get into some uniform jobs initially and then work on to the corporates. So in few countries they do that. You serve the defense forces for 2 years, but here is a gentleman who is from National Defense Academy and then went on to Military College of Engineering. He started his career with the Indian Army. So proud of you, sir. In the year 1984 as a lieutenant, he was in the Corps of Engineers and took premature retirement as head of automation department in Corps of Engineers after completing 21 years service. I think we salute you, Mr. Matthew. I'm always proud of those uniformed citizens of our country. You know, the way you struggle to protect the country from the other external factors. So salute you, Mr. Matthew, for, I can call you Colonel Matthew, retired from the Indian Army. So here we have Mr. Matthew here. He is also recipient of Kerala Chief Minister's Award for E-Governance for his performance as Director of Akshaya, which was mentioned to you by Mr. Kumar in his talk, and as the Chief of Air Force Commendation for outstanding performance during his service career. We are indeed proud of you, and congratulations to you, Mr. Matthew, for this great honor and achievement in your career. And IT leader with a proven track record of synergizing technology and business to design and implement ICT projects in the field of e-governance, smart cities, cloud services, and India Stack. He has over 30 years experience, which includes 20 years in ICT project design and implementation, smart city solutions, e-governance, Aadhaar, India Stock, ERP, SaaS, GIS, cloud services, VPN, WAN, IoT, mobile apps, PPP model for e-governance, e-literacy, e-skilling, financial inclusion, digital services delivery, etc., with a blend of executive and consultant roles. So we are indeed proud to have you here, being a colonel retired from the Indian Army, as well as serving the Kerala government. You also work for Aadhaar cards. So indeed, I think it's my pleasure, our pleasure from Amrita Vishwavidyapitham to specially invite you for this big talk live event. And over to you for your fire chat with Mr. Kumar. Over to you, Mr. Matthew.
Yeah, this fireside chats, thanks. I think, Matthew, I think that is, I also heard about you, because you are a Malayali and you worked in Kerala. Have done a fantastic job. I didn't know about the Chief Minister's Award. So we'll enter into a fireside chat now in terms of looking at the employability. Professor Krish, you want to tell something?
Yeah, Mr. Kumar, you didn't know that he served the army, right?
I knew that. I knew.
He's going to have a real fire. He's going to have a real fire chat with you. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
But he's not in the China-India border now, so
Yeah,
he will not
absolutely.
fire. Okay, jokes apart, I think, Matthew, welcome to this chat. I will spend about 10 minutes with you reflecting on few things. After that, Swamiji will be keen to ask. You are an alumni of Amrita School of Business. I think you passed out in 2002, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't it? 2002. Now, my first question to you, Matthew, is that how is it looking now? Before the COVID came, we were all talking about Industrial Revolution 4.0. Okay, and before that, you are an experienced person. Can you throw some light in terms of the earlier industrial revolutions? What kind of job opportunities? How did the market behave at that time? How was the employability? So on and so forth. After that, we'll go to Industrial Revolution 4.0.
Yeah. Shall I? Thank you.
Yeah, please.
Over to you, Mr. Matthew.
A very warm welcome to each and every participant who is listening, and thank you very much, Swamiji Chaitanya, for giving me this opportunity. So Kumar, who's been kind enough to accommodate me in the group as for this chat, and Krish for certainly coordinating the whole thing and considering me worthy of this fireside chat. So just to set the agenda, from I'll be speaking purely from Amrita and its and the students who are attending. See, we are all privileged. Amrita is moved into the top 100, one of the topmost universities in India, and you're all privileged to be studying in Amrita, and therefore many of you is going to embrace the industry 4.0 and be very successful in this. The biggest challenge which we face, like in industry 4.0, is that we miss the first three revolutions. The first revolution, second revolution during the colonization, the third revolution, because that was the time of license Raj, in 1969 when the automation started. But somewhere down 1991 when it opened up, we had the biggest of industries in the form of TCS, Infosys, and today the knowledge revolution has created so much of jobs for us. Just to name the top company, the TCS employs roughly around 5 lakh employees. Infosys also employs quite a lot of people. Directly or indirectly, the knowledge industry employs close to 14 to 15 million people, and also account for around 180 billion revenue in exports and things like that. So what I'm trying to say is that we missed the first three revolution, but the fourth revolution is actually India's revolution, and we have the best of CMM level 5 companies in the world in India, the maximum number of CMM level 5 companies in the world in India, which means that the world of artificial intelligence, the big data analysis, which are all coming up now, is for us to take on and move on. The job loss which is happening in the blue collar will be certainly compensated by the knowledge revolution based industries, and we are well poised to take the lead as far as the nation is concerned. So that is what I wanted to mention as for the relevance of fourth industrial revolution is concerned, and the obvious opportunities which is waiting for students who are passing out from Amrita is yeah. Did I answer to some extent?
Matthew, you rightly mentioned about the Industrial Revolution 4.0, and what you told is that we have missed a large part of the previous three industrial revolutions. But going forward, of course, one of the things what we are talking about COVID-19, as and when it gets settled down, the opportunity for the IT, the digital sector, is going to phenomenally improve. And you talked about the Industrial Revolution 4.0. Can you tell our students in terms of what are the new jobs or new areas? Because since we're talking about employability, in your opinion, because you are not only an alumnus of Amrita, but also have been recruiting people from various institutes. So what is that you have in mind in terms of Industrial Revolution 4.0? What kind of new jobs will it generate?
Yeah, there is no doubt that many of the blue collar jobs would go away, and it would be taken on by automation, robotics, and then big data analysis, artificial intelligence, etc. Let's say for that matter, the simple assembly lines. You can very well imagine all of them would be actually be taken on by the robots. We already find that many of the industries which were employing, let's say for shoemaking, Adidas has shifted everything from the Southeast Asian countries into Germany, and they have the assembly lines being operated by the robots today. And this kind of work is going to take place in a large aspect. Now, this does not mean that we are going to lose jobs. Automation is not going to reduce jobs. What we've seen that with every industrial revolution, the number of jobs have only increased. Now, when I say number of jobs have increased, the type of jobs have changed, but the number of jobs have increased. Because let's say for the first industrial revolution, everybody thought that charioteers will lose a job and there will be continuous job loss. But what would happen is that it was replaced by the cars, and the car drivers took on.
Colonel, Colonel Saab, sorry for interruption. Your face is only seen half. Can you just? Yeah, perfect. Now it is okay. Yeah, okay. Perfect. Thanks a lot. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay. Thank you for correcting. So what happens is with each of these industrial revolution, the productivity increases. The moment the productivity increases, the price of the product reduces. It increases the consumption, and increases the consumption means increase the demand. More demand, more products being created, more employability. And what was not affordable to certain amount of people are now being affordable to the next one. So people are becoming more prosperous and more jobs are actually getting created. But at the same time, let's say farming is getting automated. It is one area where people would see Kerala. I look at an area where there are actually no farming because of those militant unions and things like that. Imagine a situation when farming tools are getting automated. The farmers' jobs are being taken away by probably remotely operated vehicles. Many of the things you already see, the JCBs are doing the main hard work, which otherwise would have been done by the people who are doing manual labor. But far more automation is going to be taking place, and I expect that farming industry in Kerala especially will come back with strength. With this kind of, only thing is new policies of the government and all will be in place to take care of such things, unless the government moves along with it. So when I say there are job opportunities coming, it is a play of all the 5 stakeholders. There are students there, the parents will also be stakeholders, the institutions, the industry, and the government. All 5 have to work in tandem and in a synchronized manner to embrace this Industry 4.0 and the opportunities. I talked about farming being automated. I talked about assembly lines being automated. Who is going to do this algorithms? Who is going to do the programming? It has to be done by the knowledge industry people. There will be driverless cars who will do the algorithm again. So there will be a lot of stress on people to build algorithms for this thing. People have to construct all these robots one by one. So all these things again will result in job opportunities. Big data analysis and artificial intelligence are certainly going to be. We have shortage of data scientists. Now, if you've kept your mind onto it, many of the students have realized that IIT Chennai, along with Bosch, have opened opportunities for people to enroll with a very good stipend of 50,000 to 70,000. So what's happening is this institutions are also becoming research centers now. There is not adequate, in the last World Economic Forum, every country was talking about, job loss and the challenges which you're going to face. But the MD or the chairman of HCL came said, we are not getting adequate people for our big data analysis and artificial intelligence. Who will fill this position? It has to be done by us. So when you say these kind of opportunities, again, the government has to play the role, the industry has to play the role. All of this, people have to be working in tandem, constantly interacting, and not in isolation. So that is what I would say. It is more the knowledge industry. The blue collar jobs will practically move out. There will be telemedicine. See, let's say the actors for that matter, Hollywood, what are they doing today? Today, they're taking the rights of the actors. And after that, once they take a couple of, the actions, the emotions, and thereafter, the same thing will get repeated. The guy gets hungry, his emotions taken. The guy laughs, his emotions are taken. All these are taken, and thereafter, the movie is a mix of all these things. Then it's virtual reality, augmented reality, and animations which can make the movies. Once you sell your rights, thereafter. So these are the areas where our people have to come in and take on these jobs.
So Matthew, I think it's been very reassuring, Matthew, in terms of, there are many scary predictions which has come out basically because of all this, the Industrial Revolution 4.0 and, all the mechanization, automation, loss of jobs. And what you are reassuring the students and the parents are that, look, if you specialize in a particular function, a particular domain, there are plenty of opportunities which come up in future as well. I will quickly change track from the domain knowledge and the intelligence quotient to Matthew, your experience as an alumni, as well as an industry stalwart. What will you look for in a graduate, apart from the domain skills and the IQ part? I don't know whether you are there. I have put 6 Qs in my chart. What I find in my experience is that one is the relationship quotient, RQ, adversity quotient, the emotional quotient, the social quotient. These are all areas where I find the outcoming or passing out graduates lacking. What is your thought on that? After this question, I will hand over to Swamiji to ask you a few more on the employability part. So what is your thinking? You told about the 4 stakeholders. What each one of us should do? I know from industry side, we are not done enough. We are not done enough in terms of an industry academia interface. Absolutely clear. Industry is not doing its bit. We keep on giving big lectures, but nothing happens. Okay, so that is very clear. But from your side, what you think a student and a parent should do to improve the employability quotient?
Yeah, it's actually very difficult to dictate through simple examinations as to how good or bad a student is, and 1 hour interview, 1 hour examination. You can only test his knowledge skill to a little level. But I, as a person, when you look from a leadership perspective or a long-term perspective, there will be long-term evaluation of a particular person. As far as a worker, a good employee is concerned, firstly, when you hire, it starts from the hiring in itself. See, A players hire A players, B players hire C. So, and we need to hire the best people. There's no doubt to that. And from the the CEO perspective or somebody, we should try and find people who are purely A players, very good in it. They would challenge their jobs in many cases, and being youngsters, they are quick in thinking. They are all those. They have fantastic ideas. We don't want yes men. Don't take yes men into the system. Today is a changing scenario. We require ideas. We have to be open. We have to be creative. So we have to be taking those people who have the capability to understand the system and take care of just one. Sorry. Okay. So that is one. Second part I wanted to mention is, people should take on jobs for the sake of passion rather than for the sake of job. Unless your job is your passion, unless you're thinking about it 24/7, you cannot excel in it. So try and find, if you can find through the interview that this guy is really passionate about his job. Maybe he may be slightly less as far as the knowledge of the job is concerned. But if I get through my interview that this guy is really passionate about his job, then I hope that he can be trained and brought it up. But I don't know whether one can assess this very, very important skill. Mr. Kumar would know very well that the Jack Welch quadrant, the people with numbers and values, and the people with numbers, he classified the people into 4 quadrants. The people who have numbers and values, they're the best for the organization. They look after the interests of the company. They bring in results. They look after the employees and work in team. The people who do not have numbers but have values, they still can be trained and brought up. The people who have numbers but no values, they are useless. They can be identified and fired. But the people who have numbers but no values, they are the worst people from a company perspective, because they stand on top of the shoulders of many and steal credit. So if you can find out those people who do not have values, people who do not have, cannot work in team, are very, very difficult. You have to work in team. 1 + 1 is more than 2. It has to be more than 2, and it has to be supportive rather than competitive. Only those kind of people will succeed. So the bottom line I am trying to say, you have to be passionate about your job, very important. You have to work in team, another important skill. You have to have adequate knowledge to think. So this in nutshell is what you are actually looking for when you are looking for an employee. Yeah.
Yeah, very rightly said, Matthew. I will, before I pass on to Swamiji to ask you a few points, ask us rather. One thing about passion, during an interview, you can find out the depth of an individual. If a candidate comes and tells, gardening is my hobby, you ask 5 questions getting into gardening, and we will find out whether he's passionate about it or not.
Yeah,
so
true.
I agree with you. Passion is very important. And before I hand over to Swamiji, I will give you one example, the real life example of an IIT graduate, an engineer who passed out and he was taken as an engineering graduate trainee in Tata Steel. So just 6 months into the job, and Ratan Tata was visiting the factory. And this bright young engineer studied everything about furnace. So he was posted in the furnace department as a supervisor, being a bright engineer from IIT. He went through all literature, studied everything. He ready with whatever Ratan Tata asked. Ratan Tata walks into the shop floor, see this bright young engineer, and ask him, "Gentleman, what's the temperature in this working area?" He says, "This X is very hot. Tell me one thing, what you have done as a supervisor to take care of your employees who are working in such circumstances." Actually, the engineer didn't have an answer. So basically when you say look at the employability part from a relationship quotient part. This is a point which you also raised about the Jackwell's 4 quadrant. If it doesn't have the value system taking care of a human being, then it's a different issue. So employability has to be improved through relationship, through adversity facing, emotional quotient as well as the social quotient. Now, without wasting too much time, Swamiji, I request you to ask us. Last time, I think you had $1 million question or $100 million questions in the last webinar. You're free to ask us any dollar questions to the purpose, and whatever we can, I'm sure we will answer.
So over to you, Swamiji. Let's hear your first question to whoever you wish.
We heard a very good experiential talk by both the management and the techno management person in today. So my question is very simple. You are talking about we should not recruit, or a company should not recruit a yes man, and we expect our students to be placed in the best companies or best available positions in the company. We are now entering into a technological revolution, or I should say that technology has become a part and parcel of the life. So where will you balance, or where should these students balance between managing their character or molding their character and use of technology?
Who can take, Mr. Matthew?
Okay. There is no doubt that this managing this character is far more important, and only if you have the character, you can manage the technology correctly. I want to digress slightly away from this topic, because a topic which is very close to my heart. I always try and include this in any of the talks, and this is, I thought, the right opportunity for me to include. In the 21st century, when we've come in, the first time, many of the authors and thinkers have thought that will we survive the 21st century? The reason why this question is asked is that in the time of Alexander or Julius Caesar, they never had weapons of mass destruction. Today, a fraction of the nuclear bombs arsenal is good enough to destroy the whole world. There are challenges in the form of technology which can actually create so much of problem. There are environmental disasters. We produce something like 1 lakh tons of plastic waste every day. 2030 come, you will have more plastic in the ocean than the fishes. So, we from first industrial revolution, second, third, fourth, the technology always had two edges. One is you have to create more wealth, and the second part is to create opportunities for a more carbon positive world, to solve the problems of but that really didn't happen. At every stage, we continue to exploit, and we are just at that edge, living on the edge. Anything can happen anytime. So pandemic, I'm just quickly writing an article. The pandemic has been a blessing in disguise, that sort of a thing, because it's turned the clock, and it's removed considerable amount of pollution and things like that. So what I'm trying to say that when you look for character in a human being, are we creating a sustainable development goal also in him? Only an institution like Amrita can actually think of that. I mean, very few institutions. I think Amrita is one institution which always think about values, and it becomes a part of the curriculum there. And I've seen the curriculum which is in there, and so the character building is far more important than the technology, because the technology is always giving you multiple ways to exploit. One important character is the courage of conviction to say yes or no. Is this going to be sustainable development? Are you going to create a better future for your generation? Nobody asks that question. The industry doesn't ask the question. Our role is the project manager's role is minimum input with maximum output. End justify the mean always. But thank you for asking this very, very valuable question. What is more important, the character building of the knowledge of the technology? Of course, the priority will certainly go for the character building. Only if you have the character, you can manage technology correctly. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Matthew, for a lovely explanation on the question asked by, I don't know whether it's million, billion, trillion, but it is, I don't know how much you rate it. I would call it certainly $1 million question. But before Swamiji gets into the next question, there is a question from one of those attendees, and I would like Mr. Kumar to take this question. The question is, we heard from Mr. Amit Khan, CEO of Niti Aayog, that two ways to increasing employment in India are increasing manufacturing sectors, and second one is direct selling. How will you look at direct selling? Is it really an opportunity for our youth? Is it going to be a 21st century business? Would you recommend this to our young generation? Hope Mr. Kumar was able to.
Good question. I will answer that, but what Swamiji asked, I would like to just put one quick point on that in terms of character versus domain knowledge. See, when a new engineering graduate or a new MBA graduate join an organization, it's like a pyramid. See, basically you need more technology skills at the bottom of the pyramid when you start as a graduate engineering trainee or a management trainee. As you go up in the hierarchy, you need more people skills. But having said this, it is very important what Matthew told. Unless, see, character cannot be built overnight. It takes time. I told you there's a nurture element, there's a nature element. So both are important, but the domain knowledge, a person has got an excellent character, but he's recruited for a data scientist and he doesn't have the required knowledge of artificial intelligence or machine computing. I'm sure Matthew will not recruit him. So, but at the same time, if he doesn't have the passion for that, so at the starting point, as a graduate engineering trainee or a management trainee, definitely domain knowledge supersedes the character, but character is equally important for you to go up in the hierarchy. Now, coming to this question, Professor Krish, about the manufacturing and retail sales. See, manufacturing today is contributing only about less than 20% of our GDP. But what I see, like what Matthew very rightly told, okay, everybody is very scared, I am overwhelmed. COVID-19, as far as India is concerned, is going to be a blessing in disguise. I fully endorse Matthew's views, basically because manufacturing, I'll tell you, I was listening to one of the people like this hydroxychloroquine. I think it was Cadila Pharma. The managing director of Cadila Pharma was telling in one of the webinars, they didn't have one intermediate which could not be manufactured by his company in India. He put the R&D team in place, and within 1 month, that particular intermediate was imported from China. Within 1 month, the company could crack it and get on with that. So manufacturing, answering your question, holds promise. It should go to, like China today is about 25-26% of their GDP is manufacturing. India is at 16-17%. It's a godsend opportunity to go there and do the manufacturing part. Definitely there are opportunities. Why look about that? Personal protection equipment. How many of us know that we are the second largest in the world today? Within 2 months or 3 months of COVID, we can do it. We can do it. We are capable as Indians. There are a lot of opportunities will come. Let it die down. Let a vaccine be found. Let there be a good drug discovered for treating COVID. Things will come back. But if you ask when it will come back, Swamiji's guess, your guess, Matthew's guess, my guess is as good. So second part of retail sales, I have little doubt there because world is going digital. I'm telling you, I am in Bangalore for last 2 weeks, coming from Kerala. I've been quarantined. Me and my wife are living with my daughter. We are not, neither she nor we have stepped out of the home to buy anything, even consumer durables in this new flat. What I'm saying, world is going digital. So, and it will continue to be. It will get more forms like what Satya Nadella mentioned. What would have happened as a digital transformation in the next 2 years have happened in the last 3 months. So retail salesman, I keep my fingers crossed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar. I'm sure the person who asked the question has been clarified well. And now over to Swami for the billion question. Million is over, billion, and then I'll give you one more trillion question.
$1 question.
Billion, trillion. So he's going to ask the billion question. And to whom you want to shoot this question, Swamiji?
Okay. So here is the question for you both. Korat Matthews, anyway, he's from the military, or he has been in defense, and Kumar has been in the management side. So let us assume that Kumar is given the top position in Niti Aayog, and Korat is given the top position in the defense. What will be your strategy to protect India without losing economically at the present moment?
This is not million. This is more than quarter trillion, I think.
First thing, I don't know whether Matthew wants to be the combined chief of all the defense services and then answer that first. For me as a Niti Aayog CEO, what I would have done, Amitabh Kant is my good friend. He was the Kozhikode district collector, and we now very rarely we meet, but otherwise he was the KSIDC MD as well. When I joined Cochin in AVT. Now, answering your question, what I would do if I am Niti Aayog CEO? What is happening now? Look at the migrant labor. See, we have our investments lopsided in the urban areas. Now, if I am the Niti Aayog CEO, my allocation of resources will go away from this. How much? I think we have 54 or 55 above 1 million cities. Move to the villages, give employment there. Government is moving almost. If you see, many people are making fun of Atmanirbhar Bharat, especially the Modi baiters. But if you really look at elements of Atmanirbhar Bharat, there are two elements that one is self-sufficiency and self-reliance. But I think the Modi and team has coined this Atmanirbhar in such a way that whether we are talking about self-sufficiency or self-reliance, there is a difference between the two. Self-sufficiency, we will ban all imports, and see that we only have local industry to flourish. But self-reliance is something where you be the supply chain for the world, especially when China is a question mark. China will not move away. Don't mistake. I had a factory in China. Don't think that Chinese goods will be boycotted. Even if it's boycotted, they know how to do business. So they are equally smart. So answering your question, Swamiji, will be in terms of investment reprioritization into the rural and semi-urban areas to see that this kind of what we have seen, COVID-19, as Matthew rightly told, has woken us up. How many of us knew that this migrant labor is living in this kind of a situation in our country? How many of we knew that they are not very well off, but poor guys, 15 days without job, gone. So what we are saying is that definitely the investments have to come to, now for example, Atmanirbhar Bharat, if you look at agriculture, a lot of investments are going to rural infrastructure, food processing industry, agriculture, like they have removed the Essential Commodities Act where caps have gone. They have removed the mandis, the agricultural produce markets. So government is doing something. So answering your question, I don't want to be the CEO of Niti Aayog. I won't get that position. It's too senior. But if I were given the position, definitely reordering the priorities for invest the country. Health, education, agriculture. There is one incident in Kasaragod, Swamiji, you know, Kerala government was supposed to put up a medical college and a hospital in Kasaragod. The 3 people who died when this lockdown happened, who were getting treatment in Mangalore, the police didn't allow them to go cross the border and go to Mangalore. Just think about it. Can't the government put in the infrastructure which is required to see that our people are taken care of? So that's it. I think on the defense side, Matthew, I think your thoughts.
Thank you. See, the history of India, if you see, is that we've never attacked any other country. We've never been an aggressor. We've been, at the same time, great President APJ Abdul Kalam said, people only respect strength. So you have to be strong but humble. That's a philosophy. And strength means we have to safeguard our borders, come what may. Even in the Kargil war, if you see very clearly, even in 1971 or 1965 for that matter, we had conquered large parts of you know, Pakistan, East Pakistan, and we had prisoners to the tune of around 1 lakh. But even a strong prime minister at that time did hand over everything back to Pakistan. And similarly, in this case also, what we are looking for is status quo ante, that we don't want to lose an inch, we don't want to take anything of yours. And that our armed forces is capable of doing it, and will certainly be doing it in due course of time with the good guidance from the government. But at the same time, we should understand that today military strength alone can't stand. You need to have economic and technological strength. See, 1962 was a different story. We had Hindi, Indo-China, Bye-bye and all this philosophy was there. And we were taken by surprise, but we don't realize that in 1967 we gave a bloody nose back to them. Only very 2 brigades were involved in 1962. We don't have to take it as a setback at all against Chinese. But 1967 we actually gave a good reply, and thereafter we remained at parity with respect to economic strength for a very long time. But after this great Deng Xiaoping came as and thereafter the industrial revolution, the manufacturing revolution took off in China. Now they are 5 times more than us as far as economy is concerned. So retaining economical parity is so very critical. So in my view, this border problem is a blessing in disguise. I've quoted in multiple places. We never realized that over a period of time, we are repeating that 1962, the same. We trust people, we trust our neighbors, but they betrayed us. What happened is that in the last 10 years or so, China has become the largest trading partner with India. They have $60 billion surplus. We are actually feeding the dragon to eat us. No. And what are the jobs that they're doing? See, they have taken the jobs which are people, they're not bringing any new high-tech job or anything. They come in whichever manner it is. We've never discriminated against China. But today, can you give Huawei the chance to run the telecom, or security is affected everything? So our industry is at stake. They have got predatory pricing. They killed many of our industries. This is a blessing in disguise. Our border will be restored by the armed forces in due course of time, don't worry. But it's an eye-opener for every Indian. We have a strong adversary on one side. We cannot further the trade with them. We have many alternatives with Southeast Asian countries, Japan, South Korea, and all other countries. If you want technology, they're not providing any additional technology. So let us restore trade parity. Let us not have a trade surplus of $60 billion. This is hugely, unfavorable for India. Okay. Having said that, the next revolution I already said, that is knowledge revolution. The manufacturing part is over. Though we see a lot of automation which is taking place in China, they depend upon the US for the sensors. They will not be able to develop that kind of research and development which India is doing. They'll certainly come to India for the sophisticated development, because the knowledge industry is more or less controlled by us. All that is required. The government has got a major role to play. See, I look at the government is not automated. Why are they not automated? Can you submit a paper to the government today? It's highly incorrect. A paper can be lost. We should move out of this file system. Let us get into a digitized government. Let us bring in the latest of technology. Unless you bring in 5G, how will our people work on 5G? Unless you bring in, so let us embrace state-of-the-art technologies so that our people, our students, in universities, industries are able to work on state-of-the-art technologies. Let us not sit back and say that, oh, we will lose jobs. No, that's not the right approach. Let us embrace technology. Let us lead the technology, and and I'm fully confident that the 4th Industrial Revolution is actually meant for our students, Indians. We have the demographic advantage. We have the most number of knowledge industries working in India. We will take the lead and move forward. So government has to play a major role in creating a level playing field. When you talk about, let's say, entrepreneurship, are we nurturing entrepreneurship? Is it business friendly enough? We are still hovering around 60 to 100, anywhere in between, depending upon. Let us, it's not against the government, but the fact is that we have to create a business friendly environment so that our entrepreneurs can thrive. They can create jobs for the people. Our industry can thrive. We have to create ACCs. We have to formulate policies. We have to, data privacy. See, today drones are there. We can't use the drones. Why? Because we put an embargo on that. It's not correct. Unless why 5G is not come in, why connected vehicles is not come in, why driverless cars have not come in, why are we not using telemedicine? These are all places we are making the solution for the rest of the world, but we are not using it in India. That's the sad part. The solutions are all made in India by Indian company for the rest of the world, but we are not using in India. So that's what I'm saying. So my bottom line is that armed forces, we're very strong. We will take care of the situation. There is no doubt about that. We will restore status quo ante without any doubt. But the main challenge, that's a minuscule part. The main challenge is our trade parity with China, and we have to build up the economy, and that is, we have to build up the economy and technological competence, and for that, the government and the industry and the institutions have to take the lead. And it is very much possible. We have the co-competence. Like in one of the articles I mentioned that almost all CEOs, top CEOs, techie CEOs in America are all Indians. See, Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai. So we have the talent. Even IBM is headed by. We had Indira Nooyi before that. If you at least a dozen of the CEOs, top CEOs are all Indian. Why? Because we have the talent. All that is required is we have to encourage meritocracy in India, and we will come up.
So my objective of precise objective of asking this question was primarily that students should be given, or we should be able to create a thought process in the student's mind, the youngster's mind, so that they should be able to think the organization for which they work is directly linked with the economy of the country, and they have to work in such a way that they should be able to use their the skills, the complete skills, contribute in the maximum possible way. So that is why how you manage between this the first question, how you manage between the technology and the management. Okay, Krish, you can proceed.
You have any questions? Brilliant questions, Swamiji, or?
I have just one more small question.
We have 5 more minutes to go. You go ahead.
Yeah, that is primarily for the students who are yet to come out of the formal university education. So you both said that character is very important, and Korath was saying that it is very important that we should not, or as a company should not recruit a yes man. So how is it possible for a student in a university education system? So let us you forget about Amrita University. You take any mediocre institution or government institutions where they are not exposed to much of the opportunities. And what is it that a student can do independently? And how is it that he can mold the character? How is it possible for him to find out opportunities by himself?
So I think the question is for Mr. Kumar, Swamiji.
Yeah.
Swamiji, I think you talked about basically about self-employment and entrepreneurship, which Matthew also talked. Here again, if you look at, I was the president of TIE Kerala. TIE is a global organization fostering entrepreneurship. Our mandate is to foster entrepreneurship. Having said that, one quick point, since we are running out of time, is again the chart which I showed. Success is 2 or 3 pages in a big book of 400 or 500 pages. So long as your character, your willpower is willing to face failures, then you become a successful entrepreneur. The ratio here is out of 10 startups in India or in the world itself, there are 1.5 to 2 startups who achieve success. Not all the startups. There are a lot of failure startups. We have the statistics in time. So the point there is the willingness to learn, the and philosophy, what I mentioned, are all important in that character building to be a self-employment opportunities are plenty. There is no doubt. I'm sure Matthew will also agree with me. In our country, there will be a lot of self-employment opportunities which are opened up already, which will open up more. So the answer to that is the ability to two things: ability to dream and ability to face failures. So once you have these two things, and then of course hard work and all other related aspects is there. And again, Matthew mentioned the point that many of the Fortune 500 companies chief executives are Indians. One I have studied, the basic reason is AQ, adversity quotient. When Indira Nui grew up, she was telling once, when I opened the tap in my house in old Madras, I'm not sure whether water will come. When I take the telephone, there was no mobile those days. Whether the telephone will work, I'm not sure. So all of them have faced adversities and they can manage anything. So the adversity quotient also should be very high to achieve success in life as well as for a higher level of employability.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kumar. I have a question from one of the attendees. This question is for Mr. Matthew. How will the automation affect the other domains? I repeat, how will the automation affect the other domains irrespective of technology? It was discussed about how it will increase opportunities with increased need for writing algorithms. But how can other domains or the students with other interests withstand the change?
Okay.
Over to you, Mr. Matthew.
Yeah. So let's say for every aspect of a job, there has to be a knowledge domain. For example, let's say if you're making automobiles, you need to know anything about an automobile first before you start making algorithm on that. So, but having said that, the algorithms will rule in future. It's estimated that 70% of the blue collar jobs will be going, and it will be taken away in due course of time. You will probably have that much less of this thing. But I made one very interesting statement initially, that the jobs are only going to increase because with automation, productivity will increase, and productivity means the product will become cheaper, which will increase the demand, and the more products you make, more people will be required to be employed. So overall, there will be increase in people, increase in employment. But the basic challenge is that you have to constantly reskill. See, if you see the successive intervals between the industrial revolutions, it's drastically reducing. People say that industry 5.0 it may start in another 10 years time, So if something started in 2016, another 10-15 years, 5.0 will start. You can understand the successive intervals have drastically reduced. So gone are the days when you will have, I'll start at 30 years service and then I'll retire in the same job. That's all out. We have to constantly change, and within the factory or you have to be constantly thinking about how to improve your own job. Can I do with 4 people, instead of producing 10 items, will I be able to produce 100 items? See, the re-engineering, the German engineering, and in the kind of Japanese engineering which you had, there's a limit to which it can go, and then suddenly innovation took over. To give an example, we use the CDs, and if you put a CD drive in your computer, it used to cost around 7,000 rupees, or 5 to 7,000 rupees. Now, when the flash drive came, that much is saved straight away. So it's innovation. Innovation takes over engineering to a great level. So people have to be bothered about algorithms. I can talk many things about algorithms. Algorithms actually is taking over the human intelligence in a great way. The recent creation of machine learning, AlphaZero supposed to be, have learned computer in precisely 4 hours, learning from scratch. Because earlier it used to be rule based. Now what happens is it's machine learning. So you throw up a lot of data, you play with it, it picked up in 4 hours better than the best computer. So human being was defeated by Deep Blue, was further defeated by another, known as Stockfish, and then when Stockfish, which had massive computer, which was a rule-based system, working on artificial intelligence, when it came to machine learning, AlphaZero picked it up in 4 hours, and then that algorithm is so powerful that it defeated Stockfish in many of the games, 28 out of the 100 games. So world is moving into algorithm and machine learning in a big way. Again, coming back to the most important thing, you need to have the domain knowledge. So there is job for everybody who specializes in everything, and it is going to be not consumer based. It is going to be prosumer based to a great extent. Entrepreneurs will be there, and there are more opportunities for entrepreneurs in this world to work from home and to create niche things. But a lot of stress has to be given on the knowledge industry. If India and as a nation and our students and institutions have to move into the lead. That is what I would say. Okay.
So if there
Sir, Krish, just one last word. I mean,
please,
just 1-2 sentences. I mean, not more than that. First, let me compliment Amrita Vidyapitham for selecting Matthew as one of your panelists, because I have attended many programs. Because people are doomsday predictors. They will say we will lose jobs. COVID has come. Life has come to an end. Everything is going to be, very bad for engineering graduates, MBAs, but it has been very reassuring. I'll add only one point about jobs, which Matthew told is very correct. When Excel spreadsheet came, I don't know, 25, 30 years back, there was a prediction that accountants will lose it. Did it happen? When ATMs came into banking system, there was a prediction that there will be a reduction in number of bank employees. Did that happen? Today, I mean, 10, 15 days back, I was talking to Paul Thomas, who is the managing director of Visa Bank. He told me very nice things. He calls me MSA. MSA, I'm not investing a single rupee in ATMs. I told Paul, what happened? Who is going to use ATMs? Digital. People will have less money transactions going forward. So what I'm saying is the world is changing. Like what Matthew told, unless you upskill yourself, be ready. I mean, if you're talking about parents to graduates or students, acquire specialized new knowledge in the new era, what Matthew so very well explained. That is the way forward. Don't get despondent. Don't listen to this doomsday prediction guys. So jobs will evaporate. Nothing of that sort is going to happen. I think India will do much better post-COVID. I am a very, very strong believer. Agriculture do very well. You know that Rabi was the record harvest last year. Monsoon sowing has been the record thing. The migrant workers have gone to the rural areas, so there's no lack of availability of rural workers. So all in all, okay, 1 year is going to be tough, but I think future is bright. Yes, Professor Krish.
Yes, Swamiji, you have anything else? Otherwise, a last word from your end, Swamiji. With the blessings of Swamiji, we would like to wind up this session. Over to you, Swamiji. One sentence blessings to all of us. Okay, take two sentences, Swamiji. Mute.
Oh, mute. You are muted.
Most important thing I wanted to convey is that the session has given a positive message to those who are yet to come out from the schools and colleges or who are looking at the future. It clearly says that the hard work, the teamwork, and the skills, essentially the skills, during their college education will certainly help. There is nothing like, there is no job at all. In fact, it is a lack of the skilled people. So practice well, try to come up with new and new innovative ideas in whichever domain you are in. Then you should be able to get better opportunities, you'll be open to better opportunities. Let us pray that the pandemic or the issues currently we are facing will get over soon. But at the same time, we should not lose the confidence. We should not stop the practice and try. That is all what I wanted to convey, Krish.
Yes, wow, what an optimism. I'm sure most of the students who have been watching us for this event, we have been saying to them like, 45 to 50% of the job will vanish, but that's a sad news and a bad news. But the good news is, after hearing to both Mr. Kumar and Mr. Matthew, that many new opportunities are going to come up, the potentials are going to peak up, and today, with this confidence in the minds of our students, we need to wind up because it's already 5:30 p.m. And thank you so much, Mr. Kumar and Mr. Matthew.
Thank you so much
for your presence, for the great.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
The great big talk. Yes, the great big talk. Thank you so much. And this is Medhir Krish signing off from Amrita Vishwavidyapitham, Ettimada. So till we meet again with yet another big talk. Namaskar, Namaste, Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.